Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser G, trying to review the second film based upon the video games Five Nights at Freddy's. This one is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Yes!
Y'all ready for this?
Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser G. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is a 2025 supernatural horror film that was directed by Emma Tammy. The screenplay was written by Scott Cawthon, based upon the video games written also by Scott Cawthon. Now, the film stars Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Hale, Piper Rubio, Wayne Knight, McKenna Grace, and Matthew Lillard. Now, in this film, a year after the events of the first film, as Abby tries to reconnect with her animatronic friends, she inadvertently triggers a new wave of terror, revealing the dark secrets of Freddy Fazbear's origins. Oh no! Now, horror fans, as I stated in my review of 2023's horror film, Five Nights at Freddy's, I have never played any of the video games that the film is based upon. Now, I don't know of any of the lore that Scott Cawthon, the creator of the Five Nights at Freddy's video games, has created, but from what I've heard from the fans of the games, not much of the lore and mythology was used in the 2023 film. All I know is that the film was, it was okay, but, it was not as a very, very poor attempt. At best, it was your typical PG-13 bloodless horror film that received negative reviews from critics, but the film was a box office success, grossing over $290 million worldwide on a budget of only $20 million, so the film made a lot of money. So, once again, creator Scott Cawthon, along with film director Emma Tammy, brings us the sequel to the 2023 film, Five Nights at Freddy 2. Now, after a weird prologue that takes place in 1982 at the flagship Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location that involves a girl named Charlotte Emily, the film jumps 20 years later in 2002, a year after the events of the first film. Now we see that Vanessa, William Anthony's daughter, is suffering from psychological trauma after learning the truth about her father in the first film. It's not every day that you learn that your father, who you thought was a nice man, was actually a serial killer. Meanwhile, Abby, Mike's younger sister, is having her own issues as she's become fascinated with the animatronic from the first film, which she calls her friends. When exploring the Freddy Fazbear location from the first film, because Mike has told Abby that he can fix the animatronics, because if you remember in the first film, the animatronics had possessed of the souls of the dead children that William Anthony killed. And he was promising that he promised Abby that he was going to fix them, but he really wasn't. But they go back to that old location, and there they actually find an old toy called the Fast Talker. It's one of those devices that came out during that time period where it taught kids how to say things, probably taught them the alphabet. You press certain buttons, and it will tell you what to say. It's one of those type of electronic toys that came out during that time of the year. But the toy then starts communicating with Abby via Chica's voice, which was voiced by Megan Fox, telling her that she and the other animatronics need her help. They're saying, Abby, please help us, please help us. This will drive Abby and the others down a dark path where secrets will be revealed, including the events what happened to Charlotte, and I guess the origin to the animatronics. That's kind of what this film is about. Now, I have to say this again. I haven't played any of the Five Nights at Freddy video games, so just like in the first film, I really don't know how much the source material that Scott is using from the games into these movies. I mean, I don't know if the marionette that we see in this film comes from the games. If it is, people play the game, let me know in the comment section in the comment section below. But I don't know how much information source material. I do understand that there is a character called Mike that's in the games, and he's a security guy that's from the games. But that's the only thing I know about from what people have said from the first film. So I don't know if the marionette has anything to do with any of the Five Nights at Freddy games. However, what he is using, he isn't doing a good job because we have another dull and lifeless script that really doesn't do anything to improve or make this film any better than the first one. Another disappointment here, guys. Now, I will have to give film director Emmy Tammy some credit as she tries to create the right type of atmosphere, and I do enjoy the new puppet like animatronic called the Marionette. I mean, it is very creepy looking, and Emma does a good job of making the marionette frightening at times. But it is the only good thing that Emma does in this particular film. I mean, at any time at all, there's really no tension and suspense in these particular films at all. As a matter of fact, which I'll discuss later, the marionettes, I mean, the animatronics that used in this film don't create the type of threat that you need in order to feel there's any type of danger for Abby, Mike, or Vanessa. Well, but I actually do like the new designs of Freddy and his friends. But when the time comes, they're really not the dangerous animatronic that they're supposed to be. I mean, you want them to look at least frightening when it happens, but they don't do a good enough job to make them look frightening. I mean, they're supposed to be frightening when they start attacking people, but at no time at all they don't become the menace that they're supposed to be. And that's the problem I have with the first film, and that's the problem I have with this film. They don't look threatening and scaring enough. I understand the reason why they chose to go this route because I think they're trying to play into Abby's feelings for the old animatronics, but it doesn't work here. It didn't work in this first. Didn't work in the first film. It's not working in this film either. And to be honest, guys, the marionette is the only thing that's scary in this film, and we get to see why during the second act of the film, and all involves along Charlotte and what happened to her. I won't reveal what happened to her in the film, but if you've seen the film, you kind of know why. I mean, the main problem in this film is Scott's script. As just like in the first film, he doesn't give the character any type of depth or growth. I mean, you want to have your character have some type of depth. You want to have some type of growth. But just like in the first film, he does the same mistake in this film. I mean, there is a poor attempt when it comes to Vanessa and her attempt to deal with the truth regarding her father being a serial killer. It takes place kind of around the end of the first act. We get to see that Vanessa and Mike might have some type of relationship, but she still has trauma dealing with the truth about her father. And then we get to see that poor attempt right there. But it's not enough, or we don't see any type of growth to see if she can get past that issue that she has of learning the truth about her father. I mean, I do get it, as I'm sure most people would have a hard time accepting the fact that your father, who was a nice and generous man who created a safe place for children to have fun, was in fact a serial killer of several children. That would be very difficult for any person to deal with. I know if I find out about my father, I would have a difficult time dealing with that as well. Now, I'll give credit to Josh Hutcherson and Elizabeth Hale credit as they do a good job with Scott's script, but it doesn't allow them to add any type of depth or growth in those characters. As a matter of fact, I think most of the time they're just one note characters or one dimensional characters. They don't do anything more than what the script allows them to do, so it doesn't allow them to add any depth into their characters. And for me, both Matthew Lillard and Street Earlich are wasted in this film. They really don't do anything in this film at all, along with Wayne Knight in a thankless role that's supposed to make us feel sorry for Abby for the role that he plays in the film. And also, just like in the first film, when I guess supposed death that happened, we don't see any type of blood or gore. We're supposed to believe that something happened to the people in this particular film, but what are we going to do? And then Scott tries a twist in the third act, but it feels forced in as it doesn't make any sense when that twist comes in because it doesn't fit the narrative in order for the twist to work. As I stated before, if you're going to try to put a twist in the film, it has to fit the narrative in the film in order for the twist to work. I mean, that's why the twist worked in The Visit. That's why the twist worked in Good Night Mommy. Those twists work because it fit the narrative in the film. Here, this particular twist that happens here, it just feels forced in. It kind of feels as though like Scott was trying to shock the audience, but it doesn't feel shocked at all. As a matter of fact, when it does happen and we get to see the end of the film, Some of it doesn't even make any sense. To be honest, there are a lot of things that happen in this film that doesn't make any sense to me. I believe there's a character, I forget the character's name. He seems to be wasted in because he only appears in the film like a couple of times, like say in the beginning of the film, where we get to see Mike and Abby in their new house, and then he appears towards the end of the third act, and then he plays a little minor role in there, but we don't know what happened to that particular character. He really does. He's just like there, but he does, plays no real fit in the particular film, just like with Wayne Knight's character. It's just a lot of things in this film that happen. It just doesn't make any sense. And then not only do we have a mid scene credit, but we have a post scene credit, which I believe, if this film is successful, sets up the possibility of a third film. And from what I understand, it looks like that can happen because of like this film is going to be just as successful as the first one. So I believe we're probably going to get a third act in the movie. As a matter of fact, when that third act happens, there is a scene that lets us know there's a possibility of a third act because someone says something to somebody. I won't reveal who that is, but if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It says, "Oh no, they're going to try to put in a third one." But as for this one, to me, it's I guess it's kind of okay. It's a little better than the first one, but it's just another dull and flat entry into a successful horror video game series. What seems to me that Scott is capable of creating a decent adaptation of his own work. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to give Five Nights at Freddy's 2 only one of the miser's bloody coins. Yes, only one of the miser's bloody cold coins. I mean, it's not bad. It's just like in the first one, I expected more. Knowing how much people love the games, and I expect a little bit more. It's just like, what do you got? What are you doing, Scott? You should be able to create a decent movie of your own work, and for some reason, he just cannot do it. The characters have no growth. They're like one dimensional. A lot of stuff that happens doesn't make any sense. Scenes happen, and there's no follow up on it. Even the thing with the marionette, I guess we can kind of figure out why that happened based upon what we saw in the first film, but there's really no true explanation of how that's happening. Maybe we get something in the third film, but for some reason or another, I don't know why Scott cannot create a decent script for his own work. So there you have it, horror fans. That is my review and video of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, like, and share. Have you seen Five Nights at Freddy's 2? What are your thoughts about it? Do you think this was an improvement, or you think this is just as bad as the first one? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell your thought about the film. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. That way we notify anytime when I put a new video such as this one. Once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Money G. And always remember, horror rules. And I see you in my next video. Guys, stay safe out there.